So, our good friend of the show, Nella Rose, has been voted off I'm a Celebrity.
Why? Why, God?
She's leaving the jungle, and frankly, it's a bit of a relief. Not because we don't like Nella, we love Nella.
Is the UK with me?
But because we can finally put to rest all of those silly discussions about race and prejudice and unconscious bias, right?
The poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
The public have spoken. This is a democracy. Not enough people wanted to keep Nella in, unfortunately.
Bye.
Yep. That's the end of that debate. It was her personality, not her immutable characteristics all along.
When I see stuff like this that has stretched around the boob area, I don't know if you guys can see the Sirieix. She flexible, honey.
That's what people didn't like about Nella. For some reason, the contents of her character, not the colour of her skin. So it turns out we're not living in some sort of dystopian fascist hellhole.
Great.
Phew. I'm glad that's over. Praise Xenu. I'm a Celeb rocked by Race Row.
Oh dear.
I'm a Celeb rocked by Race Row after only two black contestants, Nella Rose and fan favourite Marvin Humes, received the lowest public votes. Well, now I just don't know what to think. The TikTok sensation, and that she is, 26, was the second celebrity to be eliminated from the jungle this year, and was widely disliked by fans. Bigots. But JLS's Marvin Humes, 38, has been a fan favourite throughout the show. When the votes were being read out by hosts Ant and Deck, viewers were confused when Marvin and Nella were both in the bottom two, and were quick to point out it was a matter of race. And thank Christ they did. Those brave Twitter soldiers, keyboards at the ready, manning the proverbial barricades.
I don't use the word hero very often, but you are the greatest hero in American history.
I mean, the day the public are not voting to keep Marvin, the personality, Hume, in the jungle, we could have an all-out race war on our hands. One person wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, Nella and Marvin bottom two.
Me? The 13th Duke of Wimbledon? Here?
In a camp that has public enemy number one, Fred Sirieix and Nigel Farage. The UK is hella racist.
What were they thinking of?
Another wrote, Marvin and Nella, what is wrong with the British public? Saw people call her an elephant and everything.
No, 1,000 times, no.
These people need to take a look in the mirror and realise that Fred and Nigel have been horrible to most of the campers. So Nella is gone. Thanks a lot, racism.
God only knows what's going to happen now.
Yep, Nella has gone. She's packed up her trunk, she's waved goodbye to the circus, and she's trundling off through the jungle. With a trumpety trump, 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 trump. Well, at least I didn't sing the bit about Hindustan. Well, it's your loss, bigots, because now you're going to be deprived of all of the cultural knowledge and insight that she was constantly and very generously imparting during her stay on I'm a Celebrity. You're not going to get any of that anymore. Just take a look at this conversation she had the other day about cultural appropriation, right? It turned my world upside down.
Why do they say water like that? Is it like a joke or something? We say it. We gotta put it
It's patois. It's the Jamaican version of saying water. They say water.
You got to...
Patois, yeah. Water is water pronounced, but retardedly. I'm from Yorkshire, okay? And there are people who say water instead of water. There are people who say fate and nate and a swift eighth instead of half, right? A half pint. And do you know who says that? There are people who are nearly 100 years old who say it unironically. And the other people who say it, the young people who say it, are not the rough council estate kids. No, they're the kids from fucking Hunter's Bar who, when they go off to university in fucking Essex or wherever, they think it makes them sound a bit edgy and stuff, because they once heard a guy, you know, they heard some old codger, a fucking whippet breeder who's 89 years old on Look North. They're talking about how he has a swift day for the dogs, they're fating all the time and stuff like that. So they've heard that and they think, oh, if I spoke a bit like that, probably everyone would think I'm hard and rough. At what point, when did it become cool to be poor and common? I don't understand. I want to go back to a time when everyone was panic-stricken about anyone finding out that, oh, my father is a mere greengrocer, my mother is an actress. That's what I want. I want people fucking panic-stricken about their surnames and lineage and connections. I think you should only be able to vote if you have a substantial property portfolio. I'm never sure whether to clarify that I'm joking when I say stuff like that. Maybe I'm not.
To boil your water, and I said your water.
In fact, if you sang that, they'd call it cultural appropriation, Fred. They would. No, they would.
I know, but everybody's doing my accent.
I know.
Is it cultural appropriation?
I know. It's when suits. They criticise when suits.
What do you mean, Nigel?
If a white person has a black accent, that's considered to be a crime. You know, they should be cancelled.
It depends in what context. If you're taking a piss, then you're taking a piss. But if you're not, then you're not.
I am. So
you can't, sort of can't win territory.
Nah, it just depends on the context.
You know, it's rather like, you know, you go to a fancy dress party, dress as something, and now the press will say it's cultural appropriation.
Like what? Because if you was to do blackface, then it is wrong.
Now, I don't know if I'm feeling emboldened from watching so much Nigel Farage lately. They did warn me that might happen. But I'm just going to put this out there in the world. Don't judge me. What's so bad about blackface?
Because if you was to do blackface, then it is wrong.
Dress as a Mexican or whatever it is, you know.
But yeah, because you can't use somebody's culture as a costume, as a fancy dress. The Mexican outfit is tradition to them. Like that's been in their culture for decades.
Decades. They've been wearing those big sombreros with the mustaches and the ponchos for decades. It's a tradition that goes back as far as, God, the 1970s or something like that. Thousands of years ago. I've noticed that about really shallow people, that they have no concept of time beyond their own life. So anything that happens before they can remember or before they were born might as well be the Middle Ages.
That's why in America they don't dress up as Native Americans, because it's not a joke.
Look, all I can say is we all get on fine here in Spain, and no one has a problem with Julio Iglesias Jr. What are you doing? As I was saying, here in Spain, nobody bats an eyelid when Julio Iglesias dresses up as Tina Turner, blacking up his entire body and donning stilettos.
No one died.
He absolutely rocked. Simply the best. That was all anyone cared about here.
Is cultural appropriation offensive? Does it exist? What is it?
You mean wearing fancy dress? Is it culture? Essentially, no, Patrick, I think is what I'm trying to say. So absolutely not. You know, if I go and walk down the street today and I've got a garland of garlic and onions around my neck and I'm clutching a baguette, I don't understand why anybody would ever take any kind of offence to that. You know, when we were talking about, obviously, the Mexican theme when it was being discussed in the jungle, I don't understand why everything has to be offensive today. Why can it not be seen as a sign of appreciation? If I'm going down the street with a baguette in one hand, it's because I love the French.
Gonna have to disagree with you there. I've clutched many a baguette. Quite a baguette clutcher am I, but I do not love the French.
And if I'm dressing up as a Mexican, it's because I flipping love tequila.
Now, as much as I don't see what the problem is with blackface that everyone has, I think these she's comparing apples and oranges. This is the problem with analogies; they never work, do they? If you pick them apart, I don't think it's the same wearing a sombrero as it is blacking up, right? I don't think the motives are the same. I don't think dressing up as a Mexican shows appreciation for the Mexican culture. If anything, it's ridiculing it. I don't think Mexicans should or would be offended by seeing you with your sombrero and tash, but it's not showing great appreciation for their for their decades-old culture, is it? Prince Harry dressed up as a Nazi once at a party. Did he love Nazis? I dressed up as a vampire. I'm indifferent to what. I'm neither for 'em or against 'em, the vampires. What I'm saying is, if I turn up to a party all blacked up, I can't go, I just love black people, what can I say?
If you decide you want to walk around with a baguette and appreciate the French...
I want to walk around with a baguette, yes.
Well, we're not taking into consideration racial prejudice, right? So that's a white person acknowledging another white person and being happy for one culture that's white and another culture that's white.
This analogy has got out of hand. There are no people walking around with onions and garlic and carrying baguettes, and even fewer still appreciating the French.
We're talking about black people here. Okay, we're talking about Mexicans here, okay? And what we're actually talking about, just to genuinely answer your question as to why you said you don't understand, I'll give you the answer. If you decide you're going to dress up in a Mexican hat or African garments, you need to take in consideration that those individuals have a certain life. And so what you don't have to contend with is the racial prejudice and the bias that goes along with that culture. That's why. So I'll give you an example. If you decide you're going to claim something as your own, so this is an example of cultural appropriation. If you're going to claim something as your own, as an example, being a white woman, you've got lovely, beautiful blonde hair. I've done many wigs, like your hair. You look gorgeous, by the way. Done that. So if you decide if I'm going to do cane rows as a white woman, okay, cane rows, right? You see it as many people would as French braids.
Ah, the French.
Right? You see it as French braids. But the truth is, there's no such thing. White people didn't do their hair in cane rows. It's due to French or France colonizing Africa. And
everyone lived happily ever after. That's what they taught me at school. So Nella is gone, but not forgotten. And let me know what you think in the comments. Give the video a like, Show some appreciation. Won't hurt anyone. Could even subscribe while you're at it, couldn't you? I don't know. Right. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
Stunning. Like a young Burt Reynolds.